From Ben Affleck all the way to Henry Cavill, James Gunn really cleaned house on the cast of the DC Films franchise. But one actress whose fate has been uncertain is Gal Gadot, playing a fan-favorite take on Wonder Woman. Well, folks, I may have proof that she's gonna be sticking around, and it comes from an unexpected place.
You don't know me, but I've known a few women like you.
Oh, I don't think you've ever known a woman like me.
See, until the trailer that aired during the Super Bowl, people didn't have the most positive sentiments towards The Flash. The 2023 film has been mired in controversy, thanks to the shenanigans of its lead star last year. A good trailer can do a lot to rescue a movie's reputation, apparently. But I want to direct your attention elsewhere. Ahead of the movie's release in June, we've had a massive leak. Now we know all about the movie's lineup of Funko Pops. Funko collectors will be excited to learn that items 1333 to 1342 will comprise the characters appearing in the movie. They include Ezra Miller's Flash in 4 versions, including some kind of Dark Flash. Other characters are General Zod, Supergirl, Iris, and both Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton's Batman. Also featured in the Funko series is a certain Amazon from Themyscira. That's right, Wonder Woman is part of the Flash's Funko Pop merch. By itself, only Funko collectors would care about that. But this should also be big news for Wonder Woman fans, who now have a huge sign that Gal Gadot is going to be in the movie. Now, this news is a little surprising, since just a little while ago, there were reports that Gadot had been cut from the movie. Back in December, The Hollywood Reporter revealed that Warner Bros. Discovery had gone and excised Wonder Woman from the film. This news came around the same time that Henry Cavill's second exit from the franchise was on the airwaves. But even at the time, superhero industry insider Casey Walsh opposed THR's report. He claimed that Wonder Woman was still going to be in the movie. It looks like this Funko leak has confirmed his intel. In hindsight, we should have known that Wonder Woman would be a part of this movie. The Hollywood Reporter can say what they want, but there's one fact they can't change. Diana is an important part of the story. I mean that in 2 ways. First off, the Flash movie is adapting the Flashpoint storyline from the comics. In that 2011 crossover event, Barry does the very same thing of traveling back in time to save his mom. Doing so creates an alternate future, which is way worse than the real timeline. The backdrop of this so-called Flashpoint universe is that Diana and the Amazons are at war with Aquaman and Atlantis. A lot of the events of the story are affected by this war. But Jason Momoa isn't in the movie, so it looks like the war in general won't be a part of The Flash. If they'd also cut Diana from the movie, it'd hardly be a Flashpoint movie at all. Beyond that though, Diana is an important part of the DC Extended Universe as well. She's been a part of this world for centuries, and was actively working in the world of men since World War I.
No man can cross it, all right? This battalion has been here for nearly a year, and they barely gained an inch. All right, because on the other side, there are a bunch of Germans pointing machine guns at every square inch.
Since the movie is returning to the events of Man of Steel, it is pretty weird that Diana never intervened in Zod's world-destroying efforts. Maybe that was because Superman put a super stop to it super fast. He won't be doing that this time around, so Wonder Woman would have to step in. As exciting as this might be to some of y'all, I can also imagine many of you don't care. After all, the DCEU is going to be old news. We've kind of ignored the elephant in the room so far, but let's lock horns with it now.
Diana!
At first glance, it shouldn't matter that Wonder Woman is appearing in The Flash. James Gunn is at work crafting his mega reboot of the DC film franchise. His DC universe is set to retire the DCEU. The Flash is set to be a swan song of this cinematic universe, to be followed only by Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom later this year. But then again, The Flash might matter more than you'd think. There are 2 reasons why I think that's going to be the case.
The countdown's already begun. In a few minutes, 4 city blocks. While the world watches.
The first reason is that James Gunn has already indicated that, amazingly, he's considering keeping Ezra Miller around. Something about this movie blew his pants off so hard that he's willing to look past Ezra's criminal rampage and keep him in his DCU. He's also made similar comments regarding Zachary Levi's Shazam. That means he isn't completely against retaining cast members from the previous movies. So there's a possibility that he'd keep Gal Gadot as well. In fact, when the newly minted DC Studios and their plans were revealed to the world, there were reports indicating just that. Gunn was apparently in talks to let Gal keep her role. As for the second reason why I think she's going to be with us going forward, it has to do with the storyline itself. See, Flashpoint wasn't just yet another line-wide crossover. We all know that Marvel and DC do like 3 of those every year, but Flashpoint was something way more significant for DC Comics. At some point, while writer Jeff Johns was plotting that story, DC decided to use those events to reboot their entire comic book slate. So, when Barry restores the timeline at the end of Flashpoint, he doesn't actually bring things back to exactly the way they were. Instead, he creates a variant of the true DC universe that DC Comics called the New 52. It entailed the cancellation of every comic DC was publishing and the merging of the DC universe with Vertigo and Wildstorm properties. This new era of DC Comics commenced with 52 new comic series. Does any of that sound familiar? James Gunn is also getting ready to reboot the DC universe of movies. While he doesn't have 52 projects lined up, there are quite a lot of them. If you think about it, Flashpoint is a great context in which to do a similar reboot in the movies. So perhaps, by the time things are put back in their place in the movie, we'll have a brand new universe. In fact, this would even line up with the way James Gunn is avoiding origin stories in the DCU. The New 52 began with each of the heroes 5 years into their heroic careers.
Stronger than you believe. You have greater powers than you know. But if you don't try hard...
Are you hurt?
Now before I go, I have one last thing to say. I really hope I'm right about this. There were many misfires in the cast of the DCEU. Ben Affleck, Jared Leto, and ironically, Ezra Miller never managed to win audiences over. Part of this had to do with the way their characters were written, but everyone in the DCEU suffered from that. But there were cast members who managed to impress in spite of those challenges. There's a reason why people were so bummed out over Henry Cavill departing, but that's kind of the way of life with Superman in the movies. So when it comes to Gal Gadot though, it seemed like we'd been waiting a long time for an actress who could nail the part. After so many years, we had a Wonder Woman who could actually last in the role for a good long time. And it just happened to one who captured the hearts and minds of fans. I'm not the only one who thinks this. Gal has been an inspiration to women and girls everywhere. So I think it'd be a waste to just drop her like this. We the fans deserve better. And honestly, she deserves better. But that's all I have for you today about Wonder Woman.